Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. I really don't want to talk about this movie. I saw this movie once. Now, I own Wrong Turn 1 and 2. Wrong Turn 1 is part of my 69 favorite horror films. It's at number 38. This one, I liked. I thought, wow, a better than average sequel. Not as good as this one, but pretty damn good. So I'm like, okay. You know, these have characters that I liked. Of course, some decent gore, some fun action. What's the idea for Left 4 Dead? You know, Wrong Turn 3. It's, you know, you get cops, a bus full of prisoners. One thing leads to another. It crashes in the woods. Or at least, you know, they get attacked by someone in a truck and it crashes in the woods. And then basically they have to survive. Okay, cool. That means you have them with guns and weapons. And, you know, in this film there was another group of family. And, you know, okay, you don't have a group of hillbillies. And cops and bad guys getting together. And I'm like, cool, you know, like Assault Precinct 13, or like those films where, you know, the good guy and the bad guys had to get together to fight off this other menace. Cool, I like those kind of plots. No. And it starts out with these students that come in, and I thought, okay, you know, cool, you get some death scenes, you get some titties, and the guy's feeling up a boob, and basically an arrow goes through her, through a boob, through the guy's hand. He gets off, and you see, you know, an arrow through a tit, which, you know, it's not really, it's like, shit, the titties, no, the titties. But I'm like, okay, that's different. But pretty much all but one dies, she runs off. Then basically you cut to, I think like a few days later, and you have this cop, well, not cop, I mean, not like, kind of like a deputy type of cop. You know, he's got the uniform, the badge, whatever. It's like his last day. He's going to be a lawyer, so it's like his last day. And he has to get on with this bus because they're transporting a prisoner. But also during the transport, they also have a guy undercover, so you sort of get into the guy's game. So during the transport, the bus is attacked by this hillbilly. I think it's the one called Three Fingers. I guess the one that was left alive in this one, the first one. I'm not even sure. I don't remember if he was in the second one. If so, they kill his ass. So there's one still alive at the end of this one, so maybe that was Three Fingers as well. Fuck it, don't care. Don't care about this movie. The bus rolls over. One thing leads to another. The prisoners sort of get the upper hand. The cop, who's the black guy, of course, he gets killed, like, very quickly. The girl who had survived at the beginning of the film, she finds them, so they're all together. The prisoners, they tell him a way out, and our lead guy, cop guy, his last day, I think it's Nate. The character's name's Nate. Actually, I had to look it up because I fucking forgot. He has to lead them. And as they're going, I know they find this armored truck that's like sort of buried in there, like an armored truck from back in the day, and it's all his cash. And that's when the other cop, the black guy, gets killed because he says, "I'm not gonna pick it up." And you know, the guy pulls a gun, but there's no bullets, so the prisoner shoots him and kills him. And then basically throughout the film, they get killed one by one. There's traps in the woods, and the traps are kind of interesting, but that goes away quickly when the CGI gore just looks very piss poor. Like, when they used CGI in this film, it was actually used to a decent effect, and they still had some good practical effects. Same here, you still had a lot of good practical effects. Here, you know, a lot of times the CGI gore just looked really off. And the traps are like very. Part of your brain's like, could this thing really fucking make these traps that are this complex or this crazy? Or like, I'm sure you can find a trailer and one's like a Skype that goes and cuts the guy's face, and okay, maybe some of them are decent, but they picked on one by one. And like, there's a prisoner who, oh, you know, is he a decent guy? You know, is he a guy who's wrongfully accused? He kind of says that he kind of is. Oh no, yeah, the bad guys. There's two bad guys. There's two hillbillies. Two. There's the main one, and there's his son, and they actually get the son and kill him, and they cut his head off. They leave it on, I guess, as a message. I'm like, wow, that's stupid. Yeah, that's not gonna piss him off. Hey, I killed your son and cut his head off. I put it on a post. Now don't come after us. Boom. And that much happened. Basically, they get killed one by one. I remember one was had some of the money, and somehow he gets on fire, and him and some of the money get burnt up. Our main bad guy gets sort of in a fight with the hillbilly, and I think it amounts with he gets like his scalp cut, and like I think it fucking eats some of his brain. It's a kind of a stupid, silly sequence. I know by the end you have our Nate guy, the cop guy, you have the girl, and you have the prisoner who, is he good, is he bad? And I think like they get attacked, and the cook he had away, like he could have left, but he came back and helped them. And basically it amounts to our main guy killing Three Fingers with the meat hook. Basically, he lets the criminal go, saying, oh, you're a decent guy, you didn't do it, because you helped us and you didn't have to. Which makes sense. Why would the guy help them when he could just fucking go? But instead, you have an ending that is so shit poor, because it makes no fucking sense. Which is sometime later, and our guy who's become a lawyer, he decides to be a greedy son of a bitch, go back to the fucking armored car, and grab the money and shit. Now, throughout the whole film, this guy seems like a dully-do-right, decent guy. You know, he's on the straight and narrow. And to be honest, that character I didn't care for too much, because it's like, well, you know, he doesn't really get to do a lot of action. Like Desmond Harrington or even the Jake character, Henry Rollins, they do a lot of shit. Here, he really doesn't do much. He's kind of a pussy. He just one thing, you know, hooks the main hillbilly, and that's it. You know, hooks him in the head. He really doesn't do a lot of shit. And then he gets killed by the convict he let go. Says something like, hey, don't trust a con. I'm like, what the fuck? This makes no sense. Someone could explain, well, he decides to help the cop, so the cop will let him go and tell everybody that he's dead. And if he didn't, then they go, oh, you know, he escaped. So I guess that actually makes sense. Because it's like, well, if I help this cop and he says, hey, I'm dead. But how the fuck would he know that the cop would do that? You know, it's not like he would guess that, hey, the cop's gonna lie to them. You know, and say that I'm actually an okay guy, or this cop will actually let me go. He doesn't know that for sure. But it's like, you really get no intention that this guy would do this. But no, he kills the cop, you know, arrow through the chest. Then he grabs the money, and then he turns around, there's some hillbilly who kills him. You hear his scream, and you hear the hillbilly laugh, and the movie ends. So, either way, I think it's a shitty ending. Piss poor ending. You have crappy characters that you don't care about. Gore that I'm like, really nothing to run home about. You get some traps, but at the same time, I know there's another one called Simon Says with Crispin Glover. It was kind of the same thing where he had traps set up, and it would have been decent, only had a shitty ending, no likable, kind of the same thing. And the gore was too CGI cartoony for me, at least on that film. Same with this film. It just, okay, you get some traps, but the CGI gore didn't really help matters. If it was all practical, okay. So some were decent, some were not. But again, no likable characters, no entertaining action scenes or anything memorable. A crappy-ass ending. It really, Wrong Turn 3 is, you know what, it's what I thought this would be. Shitty. But this was actually pretty good. This I really like. Wrong Turn 3 is not going in my collection. It's just piss poor. You only have 2 hillbillies as the killers. You have 2 killers, that's it. While the others have a lot more than that. 3, 4, 5. Here you have 2. And one's the son of one. And you get traps that you could tell they're doing it because of Saw. I mean, Saw have traps. Just put traps in our movie. And I think you can kind of do a decent job, but if you had likable characters, if you had all, you know, prosthetic gore, and then that crappy ending just killed it for me. And I'm like, fuck this movie. And the guy who directed this, I think it's the same. It's Declan O'Brien, and he really hasn't. I think this is the only one he's. Okay, no, it's not. His work for sci-fi pictures has also included the writing for the film The Snake King. He is attached to the upcoming The Harpy. He's set to direct Roger Corman's horror flick Sharktopus, as in an octopus that's also part shark. He also did he did a sci-fi film Cyclops. So the guy directs a lot of sci-fi movies, so that actually makes sense now that I think about it for this movie. The guy does not have talent as a director. You could have had, okay, cops with prisoners. You could have a bunch of killer hillbillies. These guys have guns. You could have a lot of good action sequences. A lot of good fight sequences. It doesn't have that. So, anyway, this movie sucks. Plain simple. So thanks for watching, and take care.